and then pin this puppy. So the view is on me. I love you all. Thank you for coming. Happy Tuesday. Thank you for joining us for Yin through Ease. I always forget that other people might be joining after the fact virtually, and I never introduce myself. My name is Liat. If I've never met you, like the car Fiat, but with an L. Thank you, Mama, for my great name. She's somewhere in one of these picture boxes. So thank you guys for coming tonight. Our mascots are I don't know, Monkey the Valentine, and I think this one was just Miss Lemur. So there you go. Those will be our mascots for the evening. That all being said, thank you to everybody for coming. I'm gonna mute everybody up. If you have any questions for me as we go, always feel free to chat me up or unmute yourself if the chatting isn't going quickly enough. All right. So find a comfortable seat or lay down, whatever is going to work for you to settle in. And I'll begin to talk at you for a couple of minutes. If you need your pile of books or your blanket or a couple of towels for props, you could get up and go get those things for the class tonight. I'm sorry I didn't say that soon enough. All right. And here comes the puppy right on cue, right? Hi, Kira. Come on in, baby. Everybody's been waiting for you. All right. Wouldn't be Yin Yoga without Kira, the mascot. So, coming to an idea of how beautiful it's been today, connecting with the elements around us, connecting with spring. Yin Yoga is considered very connected to traditional Chinese medicine and a lot of its theories dealing with opening channels and energy, meridians, dealing with the organs. And one of the things that shows up in Chinese medicine, and you'll see it elsewhere, but for Chinese medicine is you'll see the 5 elements, which are water, wood, earth, fire, metal, water, wood, earth, fire, metal. Okay, 5. So going through poses tonight that allow these organs, channels, these elements to really vibrate, allowing us to connect on that very universal energetic level this evening. So keeping it a little lighter in ideology. Of course, that doesn't mean things might not come up for you. That's normal. So if you feel things fluctuate emotionally, all of these elements have emotional qualities that are assigned to them. So you might feel some stuff with that, and that's okay. So even if you don't feel it in the time, it's normal for that to be ebbing and flowing. So soft gaze, closed eyes, you can be laying down, you can be sitting up, you could prop yourself against a wall. So find your way into this place and just begin to notice. Notice the earth underneath you. Notice the air on your skin and how that feels. Maybe even how the clothing that you're wearing, the cloth, feels against the skin. Notice the sounds as they vibrate and prickle, just the little hairs as they go in and out of the ears. Maybe you can feel the sound on your skin. Maybe it even vibrates across your face. And find a breath. Take an inhale. And release out. Begin to notice on a physical level what's going on. Are you feeling things in the body? Maybe the body feels open and light. Maybe pieces of you feel heavy into the earth. Maybe some feel light into the sky. Begin to scan from the soles of the feet through the legs, the torso, crown of head, and just notice without judgment how you're feeling this evening. And then take a deep inhale here and release it out. If you're finding that your mind is playing on any type of film loop, that just keeps going around and around and around, where you have a lot of buzzing and a lot of noise. Next round of breath, the invitation is to slow down and soften in the mind. Take a deep inhale. Open and release. And then come to your heart. Beautiful heart energy. Invitation to keep the hands where they are. If you'd like, you can bring a hand right on top of the chest and another on top of that, or palms pressed together, Anjali Mudra. And tonight, as you begin to set intention, I offer you to leave yourself a space within for that intention to grow. So imagine there's room for it to just begin to blossom as we plant our seeds, as we connect with a more natural order tonight and nature energy. Palms are pressed together, press the fingertips together and bubble the hands apart. The idea of leaving that space. You could even cup the hands slightly if it's straight on the chest. And let that intention, imagine planting as a seed and begin to imagine it growing, pushing through the soil, opening up, expanding, finding energy, finding light, finding water, finding soil, finding everything that it needs to do to blossom into all that you can imagine it to be. Collective breath for intention. Take a deep inhale here. Open the mouth, release it out. Take 3 more soft rounds of breath. When you're ready, slowly come back. We'll find our way, no rush, to our first shape. All right. So our first shape is going to be lung bench. It's when we take the blocks and we make an equal sign out of them. So a stack of books or blocks underneath the head, even height across the broad section of the shoulder blades. So it'll be higher up, higher here. It won't be going lengthwise with the spine. And you'll find your way down onto your back. Again, that blocks for underneath your shoulders are on the wide part of the shoulder blade. So it's not low down. Blocks for the head, same height. If this is uncomfortable, you could roll a towel and have the towel underneath you or a towel over the blocks. Feet could be at the outer edges of the mat with the knees knocking in, or soles of feet could be together. You can clasp opposite arms, and the arms could fall over the head. Sometimes it's nice to place something underneath the arms for a little bit of support. So if anybody needs any help, that please let me know. Gather the breath deeply and you release. Inhale once again and let go. So in lung bench, it's often said we're energizing the body in this shape, in this form, that the prana is able to just pour into us. Just as the wind was blowing today, and you could hear the sprinkling of the leaves in the trees, imagine as you breathe and you inhale and you exhale, that you were able to get some of that new breath, that new air, that new energy within you. What does practice do? Everything we think, do, or say creates karma, impressions that color the world and make us see it as we think it is or how we want it to be, rather than as it truly exists. The point of practice is to become like a gardener, weed out these seeds, to be able to see the world as neutral. As Shakespeare said, there's nothing that is good or bad, but thinking makes it so. If we see something as good or bad is dependent on our karma, or which seeds are ripening at any particular time. In the Yoga Sutra. And that idea of karma is often misunderstood, and thinking that one single action in this lifetime really goes to what's happening to us in this lifetime. And laid out in the Bhagavad Gita, often the idea of karma is that if you do not come to the understanding overall in the lifetime that you're living now, that you were supposed to achieve, you will relive this until you've learned the lesson, until you've become ready to move up to the next place. Maybe think about what's going on for you. Where are your struggles falling lately? Are there lessons that can be learned? Is there something that you could bring in a new perspective? Can that idea of springtime and the wind blowing things around into a new way allow you to shift and turn? Maybe close the eyes and open the eyes. Maybe soften how you hear. Maybe try to listen a little more closely in order to find a new way. I remember one evening when Ambivalence and I sat down to enjoy a nice dinner on the porch. The phone rang. He jumped out of his chair to answer it. When he came back to join me at the table, the soup was cold and his mind was preoccupied with programming details. It was useless trying to talk to him. The only way I could gain his attention was to make a scene. Before I realized it, we were once again engaged in a power struggle, and my irritation gave him the advantage. He was clear that it was only my problem that I needed consistency, and added that the soup tastes best when it's lukewarm. As you know, the relationship went on like that for years. As soon as I could start to organize my life without him, beautiful love letters appeared in my mailbox. When I grew fond of our weekends in the country, he became indifferent. It took me a long time to figure out that for him, indecision is a desired form of suspense. This game of yes, no, maybe intrigues him. It left me exhausted, and I can see that it is beginning to give you a nervous stomach. This could also be a great time for ambivalence and that in-between place. Maybe appreciating the pause, sometimes appreciating the silence. But again, maybe finding that new perspective, letting that fresh energy come in, that fresh air, the idea of something new that you could bring in for yourself to work towards. Gather the breath deeply and release. Inhale once again and let go. When ready, finding your way up from this shape in any organic manner, maybe pressing elbows into the earth, tipping chin towards the chest, coming to the side if that's what works. And you could do a seated cat-cow. You could find child's pose. You could bring feet just wider than the hips, let the knees drop side to side. Do you need in order to release from this shape? Finding some movement. When you're ready, find the pause, the in-between. Soft gaze, closed eyes. And begin to notice, without judgment, what has come up. Smell, an idea, a vision, memory. Noticing without judgment. And when you're ready, slowly begin to come back. Our next pose is going to be a combination of half frog and sphinx. So some options here. You might want to take that blanket or a bolster or something to help prop you up. As you bring the arms to the earth to press into them, you also might want to have your books or low books underneath the forearms. That's not necessarily necessary. And then you're going to bring one leg up as if you're in frog. So trying to keep that ankle right under the knee. If you can, the knee is out from the hip. It's not angled back, but you might need to because it also depends on how open your hip is. If you get to this place and this is excruciating and it's too much for your hip, then send the leg back and you can do a regular sphinx where the forearms are on the earth. Legs can go straight out or feet can be wider. You would just check that out to see what feels better in your back. So different options. Again, you can prop something underneath the high part of the abdomen. It probably wouldn't be right on the belly. It would be closer to the chest or right underneath the chest to help give you a little lift. You need some support. That could be a blanket. It could be a pillow. It could be a bolster. You might not need it. can try everything on for size and then bring that one leg up if that's okay for you. Remember, no pain in our knees. Gather the breath deeply and release. Inhale once again and let go. You will see your broken pieces. With helpful hands, we'll start gathering. Even though they seem well-meaning, they will try to reassemble you into their style. You will find that the reconfiguration isn't a perfect fit. Your soul will feel like it's staying in a hotel and not its home. And this is why you must never let another person fix you into a version of their desires. You will lose yourself that way. Alpha. So this shape is, its element is water. And about 70 to 80% of our body is made up of water. So often, if we don't have that, our joints can be dry, brittle. And if the body is in a certain state, guarantee the mood, the emotions are in a similar state of disarray. So maybe you feel brittle. Maybe you feel on edge. Maybe you feel like it's easy to have pieces broken off of you that you don't want to lose. So where is it that the water needs to flow within you? Where do you need to hydrate literally yourself inside? And this element can also be associated with the emotion of fear. How does fear affect you? Does it consume you to a point that you're not able to function, that you're not able to try something? Or can you have that emotion and you're able to overcome it and push through? We always talk about emotions and that they're not good, they're not bad. We just don't want to live solely and completely on any side of them. We want a balance to that coin so that that energy flows with ease and consistency and nourishes us. So can you imagine that, your body and being fluid with that energy? Where does it feel stuck? Where can you push through like a dam breaking open? Inspiration is disturbing. She does not believe in guarantees or insurance or strict schedules. She is not interested in how well you write your grant proposal or what you do for a living or why you're too busy to see her. She will be there when you need her, but you have to take it on trust. Surrender. She knows when you need her better than you do. Gather the breath deeply and release. Inhale once again and let go. When ready, we're going to come right to the other side. So if you need some kind of pause in between a cow and cat or a child's pose, find your way. But if you're ready, we're going to come right to the other side. So doing the opposite leg bent, or we're going to continue on into the Sphinx. Again, if you need any type of support underneath the abdomen, high up, wouldn't be really down low. So higher up, even maybe on the chest as the forearms are on the earth. And again, that other leg will be bent, coming straight out from the hip, finding a nice 90-degree angle if available. If not, then have it at the diagonal. Absolutely allowed to find the shape that suits you and whatever's happening in your body. So gather the breath deeply and release. Inhale once again. Let it go. Bedalia writes, pulled down by curses, turned down with mockery, lies and scams, rooted in reverence and flattery. Her admirers were few, often reducing to none, but all noticed her light, brighter than the sun. Her strikes were mighty, but skin still tender, imagination and vision sculpted into splendor. Her soul was a wanderer in a world of machines, unafraid to be extreme among all the in-betweens. None of these dark clouds can conceal her warmth, layered by thick snow from the poles in north. She is pure energy. Approach her in caution. Both her flame and frost are beyond precaution. So again, are you able to find what needs to be fluid within? Is there a place that feels stuck? Maybe within the heart, maybe it's within the mind. Maybe you literally feel like your shoulder is holding everything. Maybe it's a pinpoint, an elbow, a forearm, your pinky. So where is your awareness? Where do you feel as if things are bound? Water is powerful. Over time, it can reshape mountains, as big and as strong as they are, through raindrops and rivers, carving out new places and spaces within. Where do you need to be carved out? What needs to be made new within you? Where do you want to feel this new vibrant energy pouring in, finding space, and maybe creating a new perspective? Brene Brown writes, the root of the word courage is cor, the O-R, the Latin word for heart. In one of its earliest forms, the word courage had a very different definition than it does today. Courage originally meant to speak one's mind by telling all one's heart. Over time, this definition has changed, and today, courage is more synonymous with being heroic. Heroics is important, and we certainly need heroes, but I think we've lost touch with the idea that speaking honestly and openly about who we are, about what we're feeling, and about our experiences, good and bad, is the definition of courage. Heroics is often about putting our life on the line. Ordinary courage is about putting our vulnerability on the line. In today's world, that's pretty extraordinary. maybe that vulnerability is just what you have to offer you. Maybe it's not even something you have to open to the world. Maybe you can give yourself that little space, that little opening. You're in your own safe space. On this magic carpet, in this practice, in this shape. Maybe you're able to let go of holding tight just a little, to soften just a little bit more. Gather the breath deeply and release. Inhale once again and let go. Finding your way out of this shape, any type of organic movement in order to release. Maybe it's cat-cow, maybe you want to go through a flow, maybe it's finding child pose, maybe it's downward dog. Finding whatever organic movement is calling to you to release. And then find a pause, a moment of stillness when you're ready. Just begin to notice what has come up. Again, maybe you're noticing this pose, this shape on its own. Maybe you're beginning to string everything together. Noticing without judgment. When you're ready, we'll find our next shape. So tonight, I want to offer this one as half shoelace, but if you are comfortable in the full version, absolutely. So half shoelace will look like this, with one ankle over the knee, like not right on the knee, just above it. You can place something underneath the knee if having the leg extended is uncomfortable, or even something underneath the ankle. And you can always prop up the knee that's in the air. And then when you're ready, you would fold forward. If you want the full shoelace version, you'll find tabletop. Bring the right knee behind the left. I'll show you that from this direction. Bring the right knee behind the left, and then you're going to sit back. You can sit back on something to help prop you up, and then you'll fold forward. But I really feel for tonight, this is as much as we need. And then you would fold forward. Again, you can have something underneath any of these spots to help support you. Feel free to send me any type of message if none of that computed, or speak up if you have a question. Probably somebody else has the same question. So gather the breath deeply and release. Inhale once again and let go. So this shape corresponds to the wood element. That emotion can often be about anger. And I have heard from a lot of people throughout our experience since this has begun that there's a lot of anger that has bubbled up for people. Maybe even people who are not used to that emotion. So noticing here and being honest if there are places where that has been happening for you, using this shape as an opportunity to acknowledge it, let it exist, release it out so that we're not holding it, so it doesn't consume us. And maybe you're on the other side of that, where there are places that you should be getting more angry, because anger can set our boundaries. Again, we're not talking about living all and completely in emotion. We're talking about balance. So are there places that you feel you do not have boundaries for yourself? You might need a little more anger there. That doesn't mean raging. That doesn't mean out of control. But sometimes we have trouble knowing that there's a difference depending on what our experience with that emotion has been. Letting this be a moment of opportunity to look into that, into yourself, and how that has come up for you. Again, it's not a right, it's not a wrong. We're just doing some self-exploration. And I always mean to keep the idea of a class light, and then I realize I might have gone someplace that's heavy for someone. So if you're feeling like the idea of confronting an emotion is too much or an element is too much, just go back to the breath. Go back to clearing out and starting anew. Go back to connecting with the wind today, with springtime, with the idea of growing your intention. How it adds up. There was a day we swam in a river, a lake, and an ocean. The day I quit the job my father got me. The day I stood outside a door and listened to my girlfriend making love to someone obviously not me inside. And I felt strange because I didn't care. There was the morning I was born, and the year I was a loser, and the night I was the winner of the prize for which the audience applauded. Then there was someone else I met whose face and voice I can't forget. And the memory of her is like a jail I'm trapped inside. Or maybe she is something I just use to hold my real life at a distance. Happiness, Joe says, is a wild red flower plucked from a river of lava and held aloft on a tightrope strung between two scrawny trees above a canyon in a manic depressive windstorm. Drop it, don't drop it, don't drop it. When you do, you will keep looking for it everywhere for years, while right behind you, the footprints you are leaving look like notes of a crazy song. Tony Hoagland. Gather the breath deeply and release. Inhale once again and let go. When you're ready, releasing from this side, we're going to come right to the other side. So if you're doing the half version, the other leg extends, we bring the other ankle just above the knee. Again, you could have a blanket or a towel in between the ankle and that thigh. You can have something underneath the extended knee. You can have something to help prop up. When you're ready, fold forward and prop up with your hands if that would help. And if you're doing the full shoelace, this time that left leg comes behind the right. Walk your hands back. You can sit up on something. And when you're ready, fold forward. Or if you need to just place the forehead and the heels of the palms. That's fine as well. Gather the breath deeply. And release. Inhale once again. And let go. As I began to love myself, I found that anguish and emotional suffering are only warning signs that I was living against my own truth. Today, I know this is authenticity. As I began to love myself, I understood how much it can offend somebody. If I try to force my desires on this person, even though I knew the time was not right and the person was not ready for it, even though this person was me, today I call this respect. As I began to love myself, I stopped craving for a different life, and I could see that everything that surrounded me was inviting me to grow. Today, I call this maturity. As I began to love myself, I understood that at any circumstance, I'm in the right place at the right time, and everything happens at the exactly right moment, so I could be calm. Today, I call this self-confidence. As I began to love myself, I quit stealing my own time, and I stopped designing huge projects for the future. Today, I only do what brings me joy and happiness, things I love to do and that make my heart cheer. And I do them in my own way and in my own rhythm. Today, I call this simplicity. As I began to love myself, I freed myself of anything that is no good for my health, food, people, things, situations, and everything that drew me down and away from myself. At first, I called this attitude a healthy egoism. Today, I know it is love of oneself. As I began to love myself, I quit trying to always be right. And ever since, I was wrong less of the time. Today, I discovered that is modesty. As I began to love myself, I refused to go on living in the past and worrying about the future. Now, I only live for the moment where everything is happening. Today, I live each day by day, and I call it fulfillment. As I began to love myself, I recognized that my mind can disturb me and it can make me sick. But as I connected it to my heart, my mind became a valuable ally. Today, I call this connection wisdom of the heart. We no longer need to fear arguments, confrontations, or any kind of problems with ourselves or others. Even stars collide, and out of their crashing, new worlds are born. Today, I know this is life. Gather the breath deeply and release. Inhale once again and let go. We're going to take our pause here as you begin to release from this pose, this place, finding any organic movement that you might need. Maybe feet are coming wide, drop the knees side to side. Maybe you're doing cat and cow. Maybe you're finding a flow. So finding the movement that is organic for you. And then when you're ready, finding a moment of stillness noticing what has come up, again, without judgment. And slowly come back. So I've done this thing where no matter how much I try to get used to this hour time slot, it's so very difficult for me when I was used to doing the hour 15 with you guys. So we're going to save half of the element postures for next Tuesday. So the next thing we're going to find is an open seated twist. So let the right leg go long and the left foot come up by that thigh. You can cross it over if you want. If you're comfortable bending the bottom leg, you can. You're going to twist away from that knee. You're not twisting into it. We're doing an open twist away, and we're going to be here for longer than you're used to holding a twist. So if you need to ground down onto a block, the books, anything at all, if this foot isn't finding its way flat onto the earth, you might need to keep it on the other side, on the inside of that thigh. You can just twist this way. So gather the breath deeply and release. Inhale once again and let go. Robert Frost writes, 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood. I'm sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth, then took the other as just as fair, having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same, and both that morning equally lay, and leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, but knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. So this twist is associated with the element of metal, which can often be associated with the emotion of sorrow. So if that's an emotion you struggle with, as you're twisting here, imagine you're allowing yourself to wring out that sorrow. Let it go. Maybe it has served you. Maybe it's time to release it through tears, through the twisting, through the breath, through the connection with earth below and sky above. Gather the breath deeply and release. Inhale once again and let go. Come back through center, release the legs, bounce out for a moment. Left leg will stay extended, right foot comes up. That's the first place you're welcome to leave your foot. You can bring it across the thigh. If it's up on the side, better to leave it in the first spot. If you want to bend that bottom leg and that's comfortable for you, that's fine. Again, open twisting away from the legs. So gather the breath deeply and release. Inhale once again and let go. So noticing your connection to this emotion of sorrow, of sadness. Is that a place you live in? Do you frequently visit there? You need to let some sunlight break through that idea, some fresh perspective, some wind to blow it aside. So noticing how you connect with that emotion. Again, emotions are not good or bad. We come back to that idea of Shakespeare of it's how our thinking around them is so. That's what makes them into something. Our karmic connection. Have we learned our lesson that we need to learn from them so we can grow and move on to our next? So have you stayed a long time visiting a place within yourself and it's time for something new? It's time to let certain pieces fall away and let that new intention grow and sprout. Let the wind take hold. Let it blow back. It's broken and old and worn and doesn't serve you now. Those things will always be part of you that help build and make who you are, and that's a beautiful thing. Sometimes we hold those things longer than we need to. So if you visit that emotional place of sorrow, can you bring it out here? Can you let those last tears go? Gather the breath deeply and release. Inhale once again and let go. Releasing back through center, extend the legs, bounce them out. We're going to come down onto our back to find our bridge. So if you have a stack of books or your block, grab them to bring them close to you. Not going to be in bridge too long. Come on down, feet on the earth, and then lift the hips to the sky, bringing the books or the blocks underneath you on the sacrum, so not the fleshy part of the tush and not that nice curve in the low back. Arms extend, arms are open to the sky, palms open to the sky. Option, so try to extend the legs long here. That usually feels better the higher your hips are. So if it's too low, that can make that low back cranky, so please be aware of that. We're here to make things feel better. So gather the breath deeply and release. Inhale once again and just let go. The unexpected has happened. Children gone, husband away. I alone in hot wash of rocking water, coats open, whatever may come, a word, long whine from aging pipes, cricket, imprisoned insect, echo of neighbor's saw through ground not yet frozen. I think it is my spirit coming home, pushed away as I push all who would draw near, a part of me so long lost that I fear never to find again, so long lost that I scarce remember its being. I have looked in quake of overwhelming loss and vile wind that assails me daily, in fire of anger and acrid smolder, and bitter less of dying flame. I have looked for you, spirit of myself. I hear you now coming home, in the quiet settling of this house, in the lap of this hot water, and this being still. Kay Sanders. Gather the breath deeply and release. Inhale once again and let go. Press the feet into the earth, lift the hips, take out anything that's underneath you. Bring the hips back down, bring the knees into the chest, hug them in and release, hug them in and release. You can have a happy baby here where knees are bent and feet are towards the sky, and you grab behind the thighs, rocking back and forth, or grab the outer edges of the feet. So any type of release that you want here, and any invitation for any other shape that would feel good in your body before we set up for Shavasana. So we won't do the spinal twist on the ground because we just did our twist seated. So finding that shape, offer to bring legs up the wall or on a bureau or on the bed or the couch or a chair. You could place a blanket or a bolster over the hip points. If you now have props and you'd like to place a bolster underneath your knees or the bolster on top of the blocks for your calves to go across, that can feel awesome. So lots of options. You could bring soles of feet together and let the knees knock out and a cobbler on your back. If your low back is bothering you, you could have feet towards the outer edges of the mat and knees knocked in. We'll stay here for a couple of minutes. If you'd like an extra long Shavasana and you want to sign off, thank you for joining. Just know as we stay here, we'll be here just a couple of minutes together, so settling in. Begin to soften in the brow. Eyes are heavy. Wiggle the bottom jaw back and forth. Tongue is heavy, mouth relaxes. Having a thought, let it pass. Another one comes in, just let it go. Enjoy these final moments, and I will call you back. Slowly begin to come back. Bringing breath back into your beautiful body. Joining the spirit with the physical. Begin to orient to the sounds around you. People, birds, the hums of the house. Wiggling fingers and toes, nodding head side to side, maybe bringing the arms up overhead for a morning stretch to bring the body back. Where you are is divine. Feel free to remain. If you're ready, hug the knees into the chest, rolling over onto the right side, pausing here. Knowing wherever you are is a place of beginnings. All things from this moment forward are possible. Ready, coming to seated, closed eyes or soft gaze, reclosing them once there. Pausing, noticing what has shifted, what has changed. Hopefully we filled what was empty and emptied what was full. Gathering hands at heart center, palms pressed together in Anjali Mudra. Press the fingers together, allowing there to be a space between the palms. Press the knuckles of the thumbs into the sternum to help lift the heart, coming back to intention. Take a deep inhale. Knowing it will continue to grow through this space, we exhale out, sending intention off to the universe, knowing it will be heard. It's an honor and privilege to practice with you today. We bow our head to our hearts. Together we say, Namaste. Thank you so much. For those that are joining virtually who I wasn't with you live, thank you for coming. Everyone drink lots of water. I'm honored for you to be here and be a part of Ease. And I'll just give you the snapshot of Kira the Doge, passed out hard. She worked hard for Yin. And I'm gonna stop the recording. Thank you, everybody. And then